Would you like to learn about a powerhouse, potential blockbuster, movement-based NFT mascot with the potential to turn $1,000 into 100,000, if not potentially millions, within the next 60 to 90 days? And all you have to do is spend $1,000 and wait that period of time as Parabola potentially comes. My name is the Suppoman, your superhero of 100 to 1000x gems. I have found the great and the good cryptocurrencies because I am skilled at finding fantastic opportunities at the right time. And I have done so across all the major narratives across the last 3 bull markets. So if you love content like this, make sure that you subscribe to Suppoman Live so that you never miss out on the alpha, you never miss out on learning all the secrets that can make you superb money without actually being on my main channel first. And also make sure that you like, subscribe and put notifications on for this channel. Now, we are in what I would actually deem as very, very perilous circumstances. We are in a very volatile market right now. You know, 1 week we are seeing incredible amounts of red. The next we are seeing huge green. Now, what I will say is that despite what anybody tries to tell you on X or on YouTube, no one really knows the direction of the market. But all you can really do is go on past behavior of the market. And something that certainly has not happened, even though right now it would say it's happening, because right now we are seeing altcoin season at 100, is there has not been that violent altcoin season that leads to gigantic gains. We saw somewhat of a preview of it when Donald Trump came into power last year. But we have not seen really the maturity of low interest rates. We have not seen the impact of stimulus checks, which are going to be coming at the end of this year, actually beginning of next year. And we have not yet seen that the big altcoins, other than Bitcoin, have really played out with massive multipliers. And this happens in every market. And in the past, when I have said, oh, we could still have an altcoin season, oh, bull market's not over, like many have. You know, in the past, we have had giant alt seasons that end the cycle, and we have not had it this time. We have seen Bitcoin go up to a market, well, we've seen it go up to a value of 125,000. But that is all we have seen so far. So maybe one could reasonably say we have seen a top for Bitcoin. I don't think so. And I'm going to show you why in this video. But one could reasonably say that because Bitcoin has achieved a doubled value to 2021. So right now, we are seeing a very fearful market. Like yesterday, we may be seeing some green, but we are in a fearful market. And when there's fear, people aren't buying. And when people aren't buying, that is where you are seeing prices tanking. Now, if we have a look and see Bitcoin right now, where it is, as I said, in a very perilous situation. Okay, because we typically have a kind of trend line that kind of showcases a top. And if we don't try and reclaim a region, then that's it. Okay, so here we are back in 2021. And what we saw was that Bitcoin claimed a top. It then drastically fell down. So it hit a top at near 70,000, went down to 62,000, did come up again to 66, but it touched the trend line and then back down it went, right? And that was really the end. And where we are right now is basically like at this point, if you were to think, oh, maybe this is the end of the bull market, we are at this point right here. And what happens over the next few weeks is going to determine whether we have hit a bull market top or not for this cycle. Okay, but there are reasons to think why we haven't. So we need to at least claim this region here. Okay, so this is really the area that we are failing at the moment. We need to get above this area. which is, at this point anyway, just over $111,000. But in order to, resume the bull market, we need to be getting close to up here. We need to make a higher high, and then we need to blast through here. And that's what I think is going to happen. Why? Because we have seen the emergence of gold, and gold has now started to tank. So it has had a fantastic bull market over the last few months. And let me just show you what typically happens when gold reaches a peak. So what happens when gold reaches a peak is that money actually flows back into Bitcoin. So it goes up, it then retraces, and then that money goes into Bitcoin that then makes its highs, right? And this can be traced back to the last 3 bull markets where we have had near market tops. 2017 through to 18, 2020 into 2021, and right now we have seen this mega bull trend for gold, which could mean a mega bull trend for crypto. And this is something we haven't had yet. We have been waiting for this for a long, long time. Yes, we have been in a bull market. When you factor in the halvings, we are presently in a bull market. Bear with me 1 second. Let me just share this over to the good people of the Twitterverse, because it's not, basically YouTube has been really bad at giving out notifications. So bear with me 1 second. There we are. Done and done. And let me just make sure that everything is okay with the stream and everything. There we are. Yes, everything is okay. So, we've just seen gold do really well. It now started to fall. That's typically when money flows back into Bitcoin. But we are yet to see that. But in my personal opinion, crypto is all about risk. If crypto was easy, everybody would be a millionaire. Like, if crypto was easy, then it would be the case that only 0.02% of people operating in the crypto market are actually millionaires, right? Because people tend to buy when there is obnoxious greed in the market. So basically, the opposite sentiment of what we see now. People are buying here, they're buying tops, they don't care about tops, they think, oh, it can just go top even higher. But that's not the case, right? What happens is people buy here and they get wrecked here. People don't buy here, and this is where the opportunities lie, right? And this is why you play in this market. I have been doing crypto for 8 years. I've exposed myself to this risk time and time again, made countless investments and speculative bets, and I've had some huge winners, as you can see right here. But I've also had some big losers, and a lot of that is just down to timing, right? But what you've got to do is you have got to kind of see how the market is flowing, see the information that's being given to you about where we are in the market. And we have not yet had that explosive altcoin season. We have not had anywhere near that, actually, for a couple of years. The most explosiveness we have seen was end of 2023, beginning of 2024, and that was it. Really, that was really the most major move that we have seen in recent years, and that is where I have made most of these 100x pluses. And some were in the last bull market at the exact same stage, when we had a mega bull market in 2021, right? And in my personal opinion, we having had an explosive bull market at the beginning of the period means that this is something that we have had time and time again. I was back in 2017, back in 2020, the beginnings of the bull market, you always had an explosive zone, and then you always had the euphoria end as well. And we have not had the euphoria end. So as far as I'm concerned, this is purely a risky game. And this is why it's always advantageous to buy into cryptocurrencies that are early at this point. Something that I think has really, a lesson that I have learned is that recent coins always do the best. Ones that are unpumped, are untapped, and really have never had any exposure to a bull market. And there are quite a few that I've spoken about. Doge being the number one of these opportunities. And I think that Doge is going to do extremely well. But another cryptocurrency I think has the most explosive potential from where it is right now is Petro Penguins. Okay, Petro Penguins. Now, I think that this is a narrative that is a winning narrative, but it's coupled with an extremely low market cap. And it's very rare you see that interweaving. Okay, we had it with Doge, and look where Doge got to. It got to 87 million, and I believe it's going to be destined for billions when the euphoria actually does occur. Because I am going to be certainly being very aggressive in my marketing strategy over that period, right? But that's an indication of when you have the interweaving of fantastic narratives and timing. And that's where I think Petro Penguins is actually one of the strongest narratives in the entire space. Why? Because this, unlike Pudgy Penguins, which is presently well over $1 billion and has gotten to $3 billion in market cap, this is really just a meme. Okay, it's a lot like, Bonk, Shib, Doge. Those are kind of meme version 1. Okay, where it's just purely a mascot, right? And that is really all it stands for. Now, these guys do it brilliantly. No word of a lie. You go and look on their TikTok page, and they have got so many, short vertical videos. And this is why they have amassed 5 million plus global followers, right? So what you are seeing here is essentially a pretty much completed brand execution. That's what you see here. Now, a lot of people that invest now in Pudgy Penguins, what they're investing in is really the benefits of what has happened with the brand. The brand has exploded. It's already achieved critical mass. So it's already in that self-marketing zone where, basically so many people know about it and so many YouTubers speak about it that the word of mouth advertising is very, very vast. But in terms of where it is as a market cap, this has already achieved critical mass. So there is no big price surges or multipliers to come for Pudgy Penguins. Cute though it may be, absolutely excellent execution though it may be, right? But it is ultimately just a mascot coin. Like, there's not much more to it than just being a relatable mascot, fun, cute mascot. But Pengo, on the other hand, this is a mascot that is also a movement. So Petro Penguins, the naming of this is because it is based on oil. So the Petro means the oil industry. Right? So these are penguins that are directly affected by the oil industry. And really, the state of it right now, which is when nobody is doing anything to save the plight of penguins. Right? So Pudgy Penguins raises no awareness of this with penguins. What you have got with Pudgy Penguins is something like this, where you have got, cute penguins, right? Cute penguins, they're a species that everybody is just like kind of have, positive feelings towards, but nobody really understands the struggle of penguins. They think penguins are just, very blissfully out in the Arctic, having a great time, but not actually exposed to the oil spills that do take place. And there's just no responsibility being taken for it. There is almost nothing being done about it, right? And so this is all about flipping the oil industry. And this is a narrative you have not seen in any other NFT narrative. We have seen it with SPX, we have seen it with Doge, but as far as NFT mascots are concerned, this has never been done, where an NFT mascot actually stands for something. All right, so what you've got here is a little bit like bubble maps. You have got the depiction of all the oil companies and how much they are worth. So all the oil companies, I'm not saying all of them, I don't want for, any of these particular companies to sue me, but there is certainly no responsibility being taken for the oil spills that are occurring, while these guys make huge profits, and it's just, oh, oil spill, never mind. Right? But actually, it is resulting in some extremely poor conditions for the species of penguins. Penguins, by the oil spills, like they are essentially covered in sludge. They aren't able to move. They aren't able to get away from predators. So if a predator sees a penguin, it's like, oh, I'm going to go after that penguin. They can hardly move because they're covered in sludge. They aren't able to procreate. They die easier. They're very vulnerable. They can't swim. So therefore, the whole kind of target for Petro Penguins is not just to be, what Pudgy Penguins is, which is just a kind of static meme coin. You're in it for as long as you're interested in it. But the difference between, Petro Penguins and Pudgy Penguins is that this actually gives incentives to stay motivated, to be part of the community. Right? And you can see that there are various market caps along the journey. 2 billion, 80 billion, 3 to 4 trillion. So it's very Doge and SPX-esque in that they are movements that have a financial target. But I'll talk about that a little bit more. But what you can see is the various stages of potential were they to achieve these financial targets, right? And these are moving targets. The other day, this was 1.8 million X. So it's gone down a little bit. So therefore, the movement towards flipping certain stages of the oil industry is in effect right now, and at a very early stage in this project. This project has only really just launched. And you can see that they have got a roadmap that they are teasing, essentially. Upcoming NFT collection and all the various different NFT characters, which are basically penguins covered in oil spills. And then you have got, knowledge of these environmental events and the history of them. Like, this is a magnificent execution. And this is in conjunction with the kind of Disney level artwork. The Disney level artwork. Okay? Now, the roadmap, look at the roadmap. The roadmap is fantastic. At this point, all that has really happened is the token's launched, the website's gone live, they are growing their community across X, and they are already achieving significant momentum. I mean, look, they are on CoinGecko and they are on CoinMarketCap already within 2 days of the first time I covered them. Right, so they are already making an insane amount of momentum. Okay, so Petro Penguins, they have just started. This just launched 9 minutes ago. Bear with me a second. Bear with me. Right, let's watch this together then. I have not seen this. Let me just put it down slightly.
Once upon a chill and shining sea of ice lived the happiest penguins you ever did see. They waddled, they laughed, they played all day on bright white icebergs that sparkled in every way. But then came a rumble, a shadow on the horizon, a giant ship roaring and growling drew near. And before the penguins could even blink, crash! Dark, sticky oil spilled across their world, turning the snow to sorrow. One penguin rose, armor gleaming, trident in hand, heart full of hope. He spoke softly, but his courage echoed loud. We will clean our ocean. We will make it shine again. And so the Petro Penguins began their mission to turn pain into purpose and restore the beauty they once called home. Now they stand side by side, watching over the icy blue, reminding us all that even from the darkest spill, light and laughter can rise again.
Petro Penguins.
Fucking brilliant. That was insane. A 1 minute 30 animation there. I mean, that was supreme. Okay, that was absolutely incredible. Okay, so that just gives you an indication. That gives you an indication of where they're going. You know, at this very early stage, the momentum has been incredible. And that really told a story, didn't it? That told a magnificent story about Petro Penguins. You know, what they're all about. And you saw it there. You know, it's that's the depiction of the movement of Petro Penguins, right? And, you know, at this point, really, you can see the quality of the animations that in a 1:30 animation, right, that they will be able to achieve the same kind of marketing power and same kind of ability to create animations that Pudgy did. And Pudgy has amassed, you know, over 5 million followers. So you can see just on the basis of that proof there, that was a high quality video. It probably didn't look high quality because I've put it in high, you know, expanded it across a big screen. But that was that's marvelous quality, right? And then what you've got, and this is just the beginning stages. This is where we are right now. And this is where we're moving to. There's 5 phases of expansion. Merch store, NFT series, NFT utility, token utility, quarterly rewards, and plushies, they say here. Plushies. So they are going down the exact same road of brand building as Pudgy Penguins. They have got the plushies. They are undoubtedly going to have the videos. Yeah, they're undoubtedly going to be across TikTok, etc. And then the real world bridge from online sales to retail partnerships, the expansion, the purpose, okay, which is ultimately to donate the profits made from NFTs and the soft plushies to clean up oceans and penguin rescue. So it's not just, oh, let's make profit. It's like to actually not only raise awareness, but actually to solve a problem. And that to me is extremely powerful. Okay, so, you know, to me, I think that this falls very, very nicely into two incredibly powerful narratives. First of all, memes, which are arguably the best performing, you know, in terms of not being directly related to a high market cap layer 1. So layer 1s are the #1 narrative here. But, you know, basically they're all high market caps already. All right, so you're not going to be making like 500% is pretty shit, to be honest. Right? You are looking for kind of 10,000%, 100,000%, not 500%, right? And that's really the max of what you can look to achieve with a layer 1. Right? But if we have a look a little bit more closely, we can see NFT platforms have really rose. Yeah, they really rose during more bullish times in the market. Look, they have been #1. Right? So this basically commingles memes with NFT platforms, which are quite clearly gaining strength in this entire market. And all you really need is the right kind of set of circumstances. So let me just share with you why I am very, very bullish on this project. I'm just going to share with you 15 reasons why I believe that this one is a belter, a potential monster hit. And you can see it already. Tell me, what have you seen at $5 million market cap with that in their armory? What have you seen at lower or equivalent market caps? Nothing. There's nothing. That is $1 billion branding in the making. You can tell. Because how you can tell a smash hit is when it looks the part at an early stage and it's just inevitable that they become successful. All right, so the penguin narrative, first of all. You know, Pudgy Penguins has created a kind of recognizable icon. You know, it is the leading NFT meme mascot. You know, everybody knows of it, and it's only gaining kind of more and more traction in terms of awareness. Now, the difference being is you cannot actually make that much money off Pudgy Penguins anymore. But what this has created is a penguin narrative where you can actually make the money. Secondly, NFT narrative. Okay, so I'm not particularly the biggest fan of NFTs. Having said that, look at what has happened with Pengu first of all, and now with Pandu, right? So with Pengu, you've got a $3 billion empire that was really created out of NFTs. And NFTs are still one of the strongest parts of their business. And Pandu, the floor price of a Pandu really went up significantly from when I first covered it. And it went to a $28 million market cap outside of an altcoin season. So that's showing you that the NFT narrative is very, very strong. Having that. If you were just an NFT collection, you'd probably disappear, right? But Pudgy has shown that if you are a meme mascot and a meme coin and an NFT collection, then you are a very rich project. And that's why Pandu did very, very well as well. Because of the 3D-ness, the depth of the project. Then the meme narrative. This is the hottest evergreen narrative. Like, meme coins go up, and we saw this with Doge. Meme coins go up regardless of an altcoin season or not. And when there is an altcoin season, this is where you get the kind of super cycle behavior or the super cycle momentum where you see insane gains. You only see insane gains in memes versus everything else. Like, there may potentially be an AI narrative. AI is hotting up. Right now, Virtuals is one of the top performing, top 100 coins. In fact, I think it is the top 100, the number one in the top 100 best performer, right? But that can change. That happened literally a couple of months ago, that we saw that Virtuals was number one and nothing really happened with agents. Nothing has happened since January with AI agents. However, with memes, constantly. This is where the money is made. So therefore, you've got a narrative that is evergreen. It's making money come rain or shine. You don't have to wait for a meme coin narrative because meme coins are always in season. The movement narrative. Now, movements, as we have already established with SPX, is one of the fastest growing and most kind of... What's the word I'm looking for? It's just something that everybody gets extremely excited. Contagious. It's one of the most contagious types of meme coins. Why? Because there's actually a goal, right? Not only is there a goal, but there is a kind of inherent philosophy inside it as well. So SPX, their philosophy is about flipping the stock market, about kind of discarding the dead wood of the stock market and going for something that's got more turbo gains with a crypto meme coin, right? So that's that movement, right? Doge has taken it a step further. It's way more depthier, way more serious. Actually, to be honest, a super version of SPX. Giga, they have created a health movement because they potentially feel that, with this physically very imposing Giga Chad as the icon of their brand, they believe more people should be fit. More fit people will be more healthy. It will lead to longer life expectancy, better results in dating. So they've created a whole movement around it. Now, the movement narrative is prevalent in Petro Penguins because oil spills are a very real problem. It's happening. You saw it with that animation that you've got these penguins, and I got to admit, penguins as a species, I never really cared about them until now. I actually really care about them because I didn't know the size of the problem. I didn't know it was really affecting them. When I saw Petro Penguins, I had my eyes opened. And the oil industry, no one's targeting them, right? So you have got SPX and Doge both targeting stock market indices. But the oil industry, no one. And you've also got AU79 that's, kind of trying to be a movement against gold. A kind of digital crypto movement against gold. So you've got gold and stocks, but nothing on oil. Except this. This one is the oil movement. And therefore it's unique. So whilst it's taking a very established icon, it is kind of attacking an area that's never been covered before. It's uncharted territory. Now, we have already seen the creative energy going into Petro Penguins. So with that, with having a very visually exciting and visually stimulating Disney quality icon and animation style, it's limitless to what they can achieve with it. We've already seen that Pudgy Penguins has already had some form of almost limitless success. and achievement during this small period of time. Last half a year, they've really made great strides. And so having that creative energy and creative ability means that this has got a limitless potential. The roadmap, which I've already taken you through, with Pengo soft toys and animations, this can really lead to some form of contagion. You can't have that contagion with SPX. You just can't, right? You have had it, and it's been successfully executed by Pudgy Penguins. And so this exact thing can be done again, right? Where you have got just a different style of penguin and a different plight, but still the same visually stimulating icon that can go viral across all social medias. What we have seen already is an incredible amount of early momentum. I only covered it Wednesday. We're on Friday now. And in between that time, we've already got a steady price, like a kind of stable price channel of 5 million. It's now today gotten on CoinMarketCap. It's gotten on CoinGecko. There's already early signs of a community. Like I've posted some tweets, and there's already an early community. And we've already seen now great animations. This. It's almost like a cartoon in terms of the length of the video, the duration. It's not just an animation of 5 seconds or 10, 15 seconds as you see with Pudgy Penguins. Like, they've got the ability to create actual full-length cartoons. It actually boggles the mind, to be honest. Then next, it's a second chance opportunity for those who didn't get into Pudgy Penguins. It's like SPX, the second chance cafe, and going into Doge. This is the same thing. Petro Penguins is the second chance. Pudgy Penguins already exploded. I have some. I don't care for it. I got some a long time ago, and I don't really care for it. It's kind of, I don't really care about something that has no underlying motivation. That's why I love Doge. Like, Doge stands for something. Just like SPX does, and I actually do care about SPX. I care more about Doge, but I do care for SPX because it's actually something that is at the end of the path, I suppose. There is actually some form of salvation to help the plight of penguins. So it's a double benefit. You won't get rich of Pudgy Penguins. You can get rich off Petro Penguins. And there is help being given to penguins as a result of the success of Petro Penguins. Incremental financial target, which I've just taken you through. Basically you've got 3 stages that keeps people motivated. We've already made great strides. If you're a hodler, we've already made great strides in just the last couple of days towards the oil industry. And there will be more, and more people will be interested, because financial targets is really what has led to the best asset movements. Bitcoin and Bitcoin maximalism, Bitcoin to $1 million per Bitcoin, right? XRP, same thing. XRP to $589. SPX to $1 trillion. When there's a financial target, you've got the most motivated communities. And that is what, we have got with Pengo that, you don't necessarily see with Pandu Pandas. So this one really has an edge. Real world asset properties, the oil industry. Okay, so it's almost like AU79 is almost like a real world asset of gold. Doge is a real world asset of the Dow Jones. SPX real world asset of the Standard & Poor 500. And then this is like a real world asset against oil. So it's like having exposure to the oil industry, because this is a crypto asset that is fighting and looking to flip the oil industry, much like those other cryptocurrencies. First class shareable mascot. So something that we have seen with Pudgy Penguins, and the reason for their success is purely because they have got a very high class delivered mascot. It's a very, very good design. You can't get away from the fact that Pudgy Penguins is visually very, very pleasing. And what we've got with Petro Penguins is an extremely first class mascot. Okay, so let me just bring up the website and look at this multicolored. I love that. I love that. And the execution of the penguin design, even is insofar as the icon being a penguin, if you can see the cursor is actually a penguin, then you can see the benefits of having this first-class shareable meme mascot. You know, something that is very nice to look at. The branding, the colours of the branding is beautiful. Like what I just showed you of the Pudgy Penguins website just loading up. I mean, even that was gorgeous, right? So that is what's going to lead to shareability and viralness. The team. Look at the team already. You know, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, the animations. You know, there's no doubt in my mind that they will be able to deliver on exchanges because they have already gotten listings on the two most important crypto price indexes, right? So they're very motivated. The storytelling ability is absolutely first class. It's world class. So the team are insane. The team, the team. Just look at them. You know, they're very, very agile. They're capitalizing on the momentum. They're capitalizing on, you know, this now being shared within the market. And what you've got to remember is this is actually still going up despite the fact that the market is going down. So it's just showing you the team looks as if they are an entity that can be relied upon. Normie friendly. You know, Penguins, it's already had the icon established. So really, it's already proved to be normie friendly. Millions of views across all social media. There's a high interest and there is a familiarity. Somebody creating another, like, I think that Pandu Pandas is brilliant. I think it's going to do extremely well. Okay, but it is entering into its own uncharted territory. Like, it is doing on it. I love that, right? But what we've got with Petro Penguins is we have already got a high interest audience. We've already got the segment of the market established, right? So all this is really doing is adding depth to it. You know, it's giving a new icon, and there is room for new icons. I mean, look at, you know, people who would maybe say, well, this is very derivative. Well, you know, everything's a derivative. You know, Shiba is a derivative of Doge. Flocky is a derivative of Shiba. And it just keeps going down. Bonk is a derivative of Shiba. You know, everything is a derivative. And there are many, many types of dog coins. You know, you got a dog with hat as well. Another Shiba Inu with a bloody hat on it. Right? And I went to billions just being another dog coin. But a dog coin with a difference. Same with this. Pre-critical mass, pre-exchange, pre-marketing efforts. At this point, one animation, one kind of Petro Penguins short. There are no exchanges at the moment. There's no critical mass because we haven't had an altcoin season. So everything at this point is just early. So when you're early, that's when it's the highest potential for gains. It's an early penguin opportunity, right? It's no longer what Pudgy Penguins is. You know, Pudgy Penguins was an early opportunity like 4 or 5 years ago, right? And then probably, you know, when the meme coin came out and dumped, you know, then they also were an early opportunity. They're gone now. They are gone. They're already over 1 billion. They've been near 3 billion. And I think that PENGO has 3 to 5x in it, you know, an absolute, probably optimistic scale. But just imagine 3 to 5x on, you know, kind of 2 billion market cap. You know, what that would do for the beta play of, I would say that that's being, you know, offensive actually to Petro Penguins to call it a beta play because it is in its own way unique. But what you've got here is an early penguin opportunity, something that Pudgy Penguins is no longer. So if you miss Pudgy Penguins but you love penguins, you love the icon and art and creativity of Pudgy Penguins, then this is the opportunity. And then lastly, it's an easily recognizable icon. No weird, convoluted, that should be convoluted, meme reference, okay? Matt Fury, no one knows him outside of crypto, I dare say. You look at some of these really stupid, obscure memes. Apu, Retardio, Mog, like they're weird, convoluted meme references. Like they've all got a kind of origin that you have to be within the community to understand, but outside of the community and being a normie, you won't get it. You won't get it, right? You have to kind of be onboarded into the community and make all that effort to actually understand the references. And that is what leads to onboarding problems, right? The only reason they find it easier is because they pay a bunch of YouTubers money to talk about them, right? But otherwise, you know, they are very confusing, ambiguous memes, to be honest. And a lot of the memes that actually get created these days are they're total shit. And none of them are really easy to be onboarded. You don't really understand what it is or what they're trying to achieve. But this is a very easily recognizable icon. You go to the website, it's very clear what the value proposition is, hence easy onboarding. Also, it's a very low market cap. It's one of the lowest market caps of any decent high quality meme coin, right? Hence easy onboarding. So there we are. So those are 15 reasons. I could come up with 100, but I don't want to make this stream too long. But that's essentially proving the case that Petro Penguins, in my opinion, like Doge, is one of my stronger plays for this market cycle. You know, this is going to be one that I dedicate to, you know, all the time. This is like a main Suppo play, a Doge-esque play, where it's a dedicated, you know, a kind of dedicated strategy with this. So there we are, people. What do you think of Petro Penguins? Let me know in the comments right now. And let me just say this as an aside. As usual, nothing I say is to be construed as financial advice. Crypto is largely unregulated and high risk, and people who invest should be prepared to lose all their money. And everything I say to you in this video is for informational and educational purposes only. Just had to get that one in there. Now, let's have a look and see what you guys are saying. David Knight, lovely to see you too. My bags are waiting. Time to buy. Altcoin season indicator is garbage. It is garbage, to be fair. Like, this thing is now no longer really reliable, to be honest. What about Meow? Yes, still very bullish on Meow. So I would say my main plays, if I was to distill it into, you know, if I was to put some form of hierarchy to it, it would be Doge, Meow. It would be Doge, Petro, Meow. Seeing Suppo's face makes me feel bullish. Awesome! Have me as a poster on your wall. You'll always be bullish. Yeah, Pengo is similar. Pengo is like, yeah, you're right. You're right, Sunshine. And for anybody wondering what Pengo actually means, it means penguin oil, right? So it's Pengo, O is oil. I don't really know what the U is in Pudgy Penguins. It just kind of makes sense, I suppose, for the wider NFT collection when it first started. One hour just talk about Petro Penguins. Well, yeah, to be fair, it deserves it. You know, it's not unjustified. Super, any thoughts on low cap? No, I discarded low cap quite a while ago. Like, be part of the Suppoman community, and you'll see my kind of ongoing thoughts about anything. But I stopped covering low cap a while ago. You know, something that you need to be when you're in charge of a meme coin is always be creating. Okay, ABC. Okay, if you've got to think of a meme coin, it's ABC. Always be creating. Once you stop, people get worried. They're like, oh, okay, maybe these guys are just scammers, or maybe these guys are just opportunists. And as soon as you stop creating content, bang, you know, it just kind of like people just start to get disinterested. And so you've always got to be creating. And I've got a lot of confidence, an extreme amount of confidence in the marketing efforts of the team of Pudgy Penguins, because these guys I know are going to be on it all the time. They've already shown it. I would put my YouTube channel on this team. I think that they're a very, very strong team, a very motivated and committed team, and that is 90% of what you need in order to tackle a Goliath like Pudgy Penguins. You know, these guys are no joke. These guys are number one. These are the Bitcoin of meme coin NFTs, and it needs something extra special to rival it, and we've got that with with Petro Penguins. Why is Ass Liquid not included in my last video? You know, people are always going to be moaning, oh, when do you cover this? When do you cover that? Like, I can't cover everything. If I covered everything in every single video, then it would get very boring very quickly. So just don't worry. You know, you just got to have conviction. Super, what about the private group? Will it reopen this week? Yeah, it will. It will. Right, I think that is it. I think I've gotten to the end of all questions. So, what do you think about Trump pardoning CZ? I don't really care, to be honest. Couldn't give a shit. But what I will tell you about that is that I believe that what's happening with Trump is that there is a wider plan to make the crypto market very healthy. And I think that this is his plan pre-recession. Like, recession, I don't think there's really anything you can do about risk on assets. They are going to get absolutely decimated anyway. But I think that Trump is certainly showing key support for the crypto market, and therefore support in its long-term health. And I think that certainly for the short term, I think that he's going to be wanting for this market to look very buoyant. You know, at the end of the day, you can't really make money when people aren't buying, right? You can't really short the market if people aren't longing. So there is going to be a very buoyant appetite coming very, very soon, and we're kind of seeing the beginnings of that here. You know, nothing really entices me at this level at all. You know, these coins are very boring, all of them. None of them give me any form of excitement. They're all corporations at this point. A lot of the top 100 are like the SPX, like the Dow Jones. It's just elite coins that they don't have to make a lot of effort. They don't make a lot of effort, and they just grow purely because a bunch of dumbass YouTubers talks about them. But as far as I'm concerned, none of these guys really work for your money. They don't work for it. They don't need to. And that's what I don't like, this kind of monopolistic situation. So I come out of this area, and what I really look for is this. I look for, you know, the guys who are at the bottom of the tree. They're at the beginning of their journey, and they are wanting to be special. They're wanting to be big. They're wanting to be major. They're wanting to be a blockbuster. You know, it's a little bit like, you know, American Idol or American's Got Talent. You know, it's like you've got Brad Pitt, who would be a top 100 cryptocurrency, and what you've got on American Idol or America's Got Talent, you've got people who want to be at that level. And so they work for it. They work hard. They got the passion, the motivation, they got the hunger. And that's what I look for in these projects. And these guys definitely have the hunger. And that's why, you know, that's why I am like your Simon Cowell. I find the unrecognized talent and I bring it out there. And I make them stars. And that's it, really. Right, okay, people, thank you very much for joining me today. As far as I'm concerned, you know, Petro Penguins are at the very beginning stages. You know, they haven't got an NFT collection yet. They haven't got a soft toy collection yet. They've done one very decent quality cartoon, and they have got listed on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko at this point. It's very early stage. I think that this one will be something that people will get very, very, to use the term used in my Suppoman group, erect over when it comes to actual buying behavior. You know, when we see that this dial is all the way over there And I think Pengo is going to be an absolute monster. There we are, people. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your attendance. And I hope that you listened. And I will see you the next time. You've been amazing. I've been the Suppoman. It is lights out.